Hello and welcome to another episode of Common Sense. Today we have an exciting show planned where we talk to President and CEO of Ohio Valley Bank, Tom Wiseman, and he will talk to us about an exciting new project they have in the downtown Gallipolis area. So stay tuned.
Ryan, I really am pleased to be able to be your sidekick today. It's my understanding that Brad is enjoying himself in the great state of California.
He is. Occasionally, we'll let everyone off for a small vacation every now and again.
When I was asked to come on the show with you, it brought back a small memory when my kids were small. It was interesting. They wanted a specific toy, and they said, Wanda and I said, there's just no way that we could afford this toy. And they said, well, that's nothing. All you have to do is go to the bank and get money. And it's interesting. They always thought that all you had to do was go to a bank and bring in money.
Yep.
And it gave me an opportunity to impart a little bit wisdom that banks are just not carriers of money, that you have to also invest.
Right. Well, I have 3 kids too, and they seem to have the same philosophy. And although as the older they get, they do understand that money doesn't grow on trees, so to speak.
That is true. That is true. And it really takes a great organization filled with a lot of different and unique people to really build a bank. And I've had the opportunity to sit behind the scenes and see all the great people that have been involved with Ohio Valley Bank. And I think today's guest that you're bringing on is just a reflection of all the good people that are at Ohio Valley Bank. Yep. And so you have the president.
We do. Today we do have Tom Wiseman with us. He's the president and CEO. And we want to discuss a project that talk a little bit about. It's a rather large project that they're taking on in downtown Gallipolis. So, I think it's really a reflection on Ohio Valley Bank and their commitment to the community. And as you said, great people working there. And I think Tom can fill us in on what's happening with that project. So,
and Tom has 26 years in with the bank.
Yes.
He's a CEO, and he's also had 30 years in with an insurance company here at the Gallipolis area. So welcome, Tom.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So maybe first, just tell us a little bit about your path to becoming the president and CEO, and maybe what your job entails there.
Well, I didn't set out to be a banker. My plan was really from a fairly young age was to go into the family insurance business.
Right.
My grandfather started the Wiseman agency back in 1928, and my father took it over in the early 50s, and my plan was to follow his footsteps, and that's what I went to school and learned to do. And unfortunately, my father passed away prematurely, and I ended up in the business a little earlier than I thought. Was there for 30 years. My grandfather lived for another year or two after my father passed. And by the way, my grandfather was on the board of the Ohio Valley Bank.
Okay.
So when he passed, that's when I first inherited a few shares of the bank stock and tried to accumulate a little bit more after that. And in 1992, Jim Daly, then the CEO, came to me and asked if I would consider being on the board of directors. Well, I was honored.
Sure.
And so at the ripe old age of 34, I joined the bank's board. And then stayed as a director until about 2005, became the lead independent director. And Jim Daly again came and asked if I thought I might want to be part of the succession plan. So it took about 5 years to get all that put together. In 2010, I went to the bank as president.
Oh, very good, very good. Having run an insurance company, you worked with a lot of different businesses throughout Gallipolis area. And so I would imagine that your experience in that avenue really helped when you started working with Ohio Valley Bank and resulting in you becoming a CEO.
It really did. Banking and insurance is similar in that both deal with risk. And in our case, our insurance agency's footprint was almost identical to the bank's footprint. So we dealt with a lot of the same customers, so I was familiar with many of the bank's customers before I ever went across the street.
Right. And as we mentioned in earlier, Ohio Valley Bank is really a community bank. I think the bank's always had the standpoint of community first, very similar to what your insurance or previous insurance job would have. Can you tell us a little bit about what maybe community first means to you?
Sure.
And how that applies to the bank? Yeah.
Sure. Actually, Community First started out as Gallia First, and it was pretty much a buy local type of a campaign. At the bank, we realized that it meant much more than that. For the bank to thrive in the communities that we serve, those communities also needed to thrive. So what we've tried to instill in our people and make our mission is, how can we make those communities better? How can we impact them in a positive way so that they will have success, and in turn, we will have success?
Sure. And I think that's well noted with all of the guests that we've brought on the show to date. I think every segment we've had, there's been a piece that we've talked about, their service to the community or the bank's service or commitment to the community. So,
and one of the things that I really found is that Ohio Valley Bank, like all banks, really have a variety of different products and services that they can offer to the community. And it's just not going in and getting money out or borrowing for a car or something of that nature. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that is very important to customers to understand about banking. And one of the areas that I know, because you are a community first, you have a project that has been on the books, and you've really looked forward to developing this project.
That's correct. From the time I got to the bank, I kind of had my eye on this building, the old bank building. In fact, I think I confided in Brenna Butler, who works with us, that it'd really be interesting to get a hold of that building and renovate it. Well, I didn't know that would ever come to pass. In 2014, a fellow by the name of Arthur Miller came to see me. And Arthur has a connection to the bank. His father, Harry Miller, was on the board of directors back in 1958 when the then board was trying to decide whether to renovate that building that they were in or to move. Well, they chose to build a brand new state-of-the-art facility on 3rd Avenue where we are today.
Yep.
And but he came to talk to me, and he had a vision that he thought that bank building needed to be restored. Somebody needed to get a hold of it and restore it, renovate it. And of course, he thought we should do that. Well, we agreed with him. And we began then, and we acquired the building. And it was a mess. And that's politely putting it. And so we began the project then, and we've run into several challenges as we've worked on this particular project. Just the state of the building itself was the biggest challenge. It had been neglected for so long that it took just a mammoth effort to clear out the debris, and there was tons of dirt in the basement that had to be pulled out even to see where the floor was.
Yep.
So we did that, and then we had to have structural engineers come in and look at the building. The initial plan was to take the old building, which was constructed back in 1896 by our first president, Alfred Hinking, and there was an annex added several years later. So our initial plan was to take those two structures and renovate them. Well, what we found out, I guess the good part was, the old bank building was structurally sound. Unfortunately, the annex portion was not. So the decision was made to take it down, and originally we thought we would just build a new building there. And that building could service the old bank building. Well, the problem was when you use that new building to service the old building, and you put your elevator shafts and secondary exits and mechanicals and all those things in that building, it left very little room to put any people in it. So we were looking at maybe 15 people in both structures. Well, that didn't make any sense. So we had to take another step back, and it came to our attention that we might be able to get a hold of the building next door, and we'll call it the AAA building. And it has a link to Ohio Valley Bank as well. The company that owned it is called DLB, Doctor Lawyer Banker.
Okay.
Well, the doctor was Dr. Keith Brandenberry, who was the director of the bank. The lawyer was Warren Sheets, who was the director of the bank, and the banker was Leon Saunders, who was a director and had worked at the bank for, 40 plus years. So we were able to purchase that building and then the vacant lot beside it. So now we're going to build down 2nd Avenue and fill in that gap.
Right.
And we should be able to put about 40 to 45 people over there. So we're really excited about the prospects, and we haven't shown what the outside of the new part's going to look like yet. In fact, we're going to have a groundbreaking next Tuesday, and that's when we plan to unveil what that looks like. But I'll give you a sneak preview.
Okay.
It's a streetscape type design. So in other words, we're going to build a new 10,000 square foot building to fill in that gap, but it will look from the outside like 3 buildings, and they'll fit in with the historical nature of 2nd Avenue and Gallipolis.
Sure.
You know, Tom, the national trend has been that small businesses move out of the inner cities and the middle cities, et cetera. And what your bank is willing to do is to put itself right in the middle and build, because there's a lot of people in the Gallipolis area that really love the downtown area. And when you have a major structure that is going in, it really promotes the downtown area.
We really feel like this keeps within our community first mission. There are a lot of small towns have the same problem that we do, and that is that they don't have enough people downtown to create demand for stores and so forth.
Right.
So we felt like we had a chance to really impact downtown Gallipolis by going ahead with this project, put those 44, 45 people down there, and that'll help all the other businesses right along that street.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it'll promote other folks coming in and doing the same thing. In fact, after we announced our deal, there's a group that went to the other end of the block, and they're renovating the old Lafayette building. So
Okay.
maybe we've started a chain reaction.
Let's hope.
Well, I think it's very, very important, because right across the way, and I don't think we have a picture of it, is a real nice park. And that park is also being used by different community organizations that accentuate certain times of the year. You also have several restaurants down in the area that cater to different unique groups during the events, etc. You also have the Chamber of Commerce right smack dab in the middle that promote different businesses and organizations, and is a lifeline to the community. And I think it really speaks well of Ohio Valley Bank taking an opportunity to really develop.
Well, I think all of us are proud of our city park. You can go far and wide and not find a nicer park than we have, and we're very fortunate. And you're right. Just a couple weekends ago, they had the Hoop project there, and estimated 6,000 people were in the downtown. And
We were there, and I believe it.
yeah. And those things are good. They're good for restaurants like Courtside and Jack and Scotty's and those places that need people to make them go. And I ought to mention, we've got a real good group of young people right now in Gallipolis. They call themselves the Downtown Revitalization Project, and they've done a lot of hard work to try to attract some new businesses into the downtown area, and giving them incentives and stuff to do so. And it's a young group that's working hard. I jokingly say we need to help them, but we need to get out of their way too.
You know what I like about the park also, that area? You are only 1.5 blocks away from the Ohio River, which has a real nice wharf. And it has a real nice landing area where you can bring your boats down. And, you know, I'm sort of partial to the Ohio River in the fact that it's a lot larger than what you think. And people, when they come down into the Gallipolis area, can really enjoy a number of different things.
I noticed last night I think it's the Belle of Cincinnati.
Oh, yes.
Was
Yep.
docked
Yes.
at the riverfront.
Yep.
So you're right, and they host bass fishing tournaments from that location. And,
Yep.
our River Rec has their festival there each year. It's the focal point of our community.
And I think you're establishing that building, that presence right on 3rd Street or 2nd Street, really speaks highly of what the bank is willing to do. And when you say you're a community bank, it's really a commitment to the community.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly is, and we're blessed. We've got 350 employees, and they get it. They understand how important it is to get out and do good works in the communities that they're in, and that's not just Gallipolis. That's Jackson and Waverly and Pomeroy and Milton, West Virginia, and Barbersville and Point Pleasant. We have projects going on in all those communities, and it's our people. They get out, and we provide what they call impact days, and which simply we allow our employees 3 days a year, up to 3 days a year, to go out and pick a project of their choice and work on it, whether it's Habitat for Humanity or Ronald McDonald House.
Well,
That's great.
That's something that you do allow your employees to do, is community service. And I think many of your employees have taken advantage of that and really helped a lot of organizations.
Oh, I think they take great pride in it.
Yeah.
And there are some that go back year after year to certain. Well, I think one of the Special Olympics out here.
Oh, yeah.
We have a group that come out here every year and wouldn't miss it.
Yeah.
And it's important to them.
Right.
So it's more than about banking. It's quality of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what we're proud of.
So I noticed we were showing some pictures of the building on here just a little bit ago. Well, I'm curious to know, what are the plans for the building? How will it be used? To switch gears a little bit.
Okay. Well, the old original bank building is going to be restored back to as close as it was as we can.
Okay.
And on the first floor, we hope to restore the original lobby. That's a little harder to do than it is to talk about, because it's old woodwork and so forth. And there you can see it in the picture
there's a
there.
picture.
So that's an old bank teller?
That's an old teller line in the lobby of that building. And we'd love to be able to go back with that and then put office space behind it for, I don't know, maybe marketing or corporate communications or something. But and then on the second floor, we'll have executive offices. I plan to have an office there, although the project might last long enough. Somebody else might be in that office by then. But we'll have offices on the second floor, and then kind of the beauty of the building, the third floor. And we'll have an open area that we'll use as a boardroom, but at the same time, it will be available to the community for use by different community groups.
Sure.
That's really when you go into the building, as bad as it is right now, when you go to the third floor, you can look at that and you can see the possibilities. And we're really excited about that.
Yeah. And this is the third
That's
floor
the
that
third
we're
floor.
talking about.
Yeah, that's what it looks like today. And we've got a lot of work to do.
Yep.
But you can see the windows there and the open ceiling, and it will really be spectacular when we get it done. Then on the building next to it, that's going to be new, the 10,000 square foot addition. You can see the doors to the right back there beyond the conference table.
Yeah.
That will open up onto the roof of that building.
Okay.
And we plan to have a patio that can be accessed from the boardroom and can be used also by community groups that will overlook the park, and actually, I think you'll be able to see the river from there.
Wow.
So we're pretty excited about that as well.
Yeah.
The rest of that building is going to house offices, and that's where the bulk of the people will be.
Okay. Is there a name for the project yet?
Yes,
Yeah, there is.
It's
Okay.
OVB on the Square.
OVB on the Square.
Mm-hmm.
That's only fitting for the park, and yeah, there's a picture of the vacant lot that the new building will be built in.
Yeah, it's interesting with there used to be 3 stores
Yes.
that were in that vacant lot, and then unfortunately, about 10, 15 years ago, there was a fire that destroyed 3 of the buildings.
There was a fire, and then they did some work, and then there was a collapse, and it became an eyesore, unfortunately.
Right, and so they were able to clean that up, and it's a little park,
Yeah.
that you walk by, but I think it's really going to be of great use when you look at that whole area, because it is well maintained.
It is, and I think everybody involved is really excited. We're ready to get started. We've been working on this thing for 3 or 4 years, and like I said, we're going to break ground next Tuesday, and hopefully soon thereafter we'll really break ground and get things going.
So when do you feel that it will be completed?
Well, I'd say conservatively it'll be 2 years, maybe a little bit less, unless we run into some problems, which we hope we don't. But that's the estimates that we've been given.
Okay.
And so when you mentioned something about community services, what kind of community programs might use that deck up above?
Well, I can only relate it to the room that we have now, the multi-purpose room that we have now at our annex building in downtown, and Chamber of Commerce uses it, CIC, occasionally when economic development folks come in, they'll meet there, or really veterans, just any group that is community oriented and needs a little space to work out of.
Oh, I think that's great.
Yeah.
That is great, because I know that the Chamber of Commerce usually has quarterly First Fridays.
Yes.
And the area that they currently use is a little bit cramped, and I think they would be very willing to move over to that, where there's a little bit more space that's available.
We think the outdoor patio will be a big hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
think
agree.
people will like to
I
have a
think so.
meeting in the boardroom and then have the ability to step outside and
Sure.
enjoy the
Sure.
outside. So.
Yeah. Do you have anything special planned for the groundbreaking?
Well, it's going to be just kind of hopefully an event. We hope the public will come out. It won't be long. It won't be a long, drawn-out thing. We will have a tent set up in case of inclement weather. We'll have a few remarks, nothing long. I think Speaker Ryan Smith, I hope,
great.
is going to be there
Good,
and help
good.
us get it kicked off. So just a community event, we hope.
Oh, very good. And the date again is August
7th.
7th,
At
2018.
Yes, at 11:30, I believe.
Okay, well, good,
Yep.
good. And anyone and everyone is invited.
Absolutely. We'd
Well, good.
welcome you.
Okay, well, good, good.
Well, is there anything we've left out about the project? I know we've covered a lot of things, but a lot of detail is involved in a project like this.
Well, there is. Bids came in last Friday.
Okay.
They came in a little high, unfortunately. And in fact, we're meeting this afternoon to talk about that. It's not a project killer at all.
Right.
We'll just have to look at a few things and, draw things up a little bit differently. But we're going to meet this afternoon. We were working with a group called Structure First that has helped us with the design, and they're looking at the bids, and hopefully we'll probably ask the general contractors to resubmit. I should mention too that we have made really a concerted effort to use as much local
Okay.
contractors as we can. In
Sure.
fact, we distributed a list to all the general contractors that wanted to bid. We gave a list of all the local subs and are hopeful that they will make use of them. In fact, that will be a part of our decision on who gets the job. Unfortunately, the job is complicated enough and big enough that there are few general contractors that were able to bid. In fact, I think we only got 3, but
Yeah.
we very much are hopeful that the local subs will be a big part of it.
Sure,
Right.
sure, very much so.
Great.
You know, Ryan, I really appreciate you letting me fill in with Brad.
Hey, glad having you here.
Well, I'm always interested in the Ohio Valley Bank, the OVB Common Sense. And let's see, it airs every first Monday or every first Wednesday of each month at 1 o'clock.
Yes.
And really exciting gift. Hats out goes to Brenna Butler. She's the vice president
Yes.
at the Ohio Valley Bank, who allows us to set up and do these
Sure.
things. And then, of course, Mike Thompson. He's the man behind the scenes.
I want to give a special thanks to Tom
Yes.
for
Well, thank
coming
you
in
for
today
having me.
and sharing this project. We're all excited and can't wait for it to see what it looks like when it's done. So
And then you can come back on and we can show the completed
get
pictures.
updates.
Well, we would love to do that.
Okay, well, thanks for watching, and we're out of time. So
I'm Patrick.
I'm Ryan, and we'll see you next time.